Yo, what's up, everybody? This is episode 3 of Beyond the Total podcast featuring Ryan and Cole. Today we have on special guest Joe Borenstein, strongest 83 kg. Thanks for coming on the show. Um, we appreciate you coming on. So, we always ask lifters this when they come on is what got you into powerlifting and how long you've been at it for?
So I've been powerlifting for I think 8 years now. First meet was in 2018, and I've been lifting for 9 total years. So from the time which I started lifting to getting into powerlifting was a very quick turnaround, only 1 year in total. And the reason I wanted to start lifting in general was to get better at baseball because I was a baseball player all throughout my childhood into high school. And I just wanted, I wanted to hit the ball harder and throw a little bit faster, run a little bit faster. But I just figured out I was a lot better at lifting weights than I was at baseball itself. So I kind of transitioned more and more into just lifting heavy, and I kind of fell in love with that path. It was because with baseball and just recreational sports, there's a lot of team involvement, right? And nothing is like, of course, there's objective stats within it, but it's not as dependent. Like the outcome isn't fully dependent on you, and I like to have full control of my outcomes when I perform to my peak self, or when I'm trying to dedicate something fully to the craft in a sense. So I can be like an insane baseball player, but that doesn't mean my team's gonna win every single game, right? So within powerlifting, I can track every little thing, like my accessories, my macros, inside, outside the gym. So I just have so much control, and I feel like I'm a little neurotic, so I like having control of the things I can control. And of course, in powerlifting, there's some things you can't really, have a full grasp on. Like sometimes injuries occur, and like it's just out of your own hand. So shit happens in a sense, but powerlifting is very data driven, and everything falls on the lifter in a sense, or your coach, if however much you want to blame them. I don't know, but in this case, like I said, powerlifting was very data driven for myself, and I just like the objectivity of it and the ability to like solo level in a sense, and just seeing the progression, not just on paper, but like also in the mirror, because I was also like a chunky child. So having the physical gains and the mental gains as a result of that was just very inspiring for myself, and I just fell down the rabbit hole of powerlifting, and ever since then I just haven't looked back.
Heck yeah, man. I love that. Like the attention to detail and like the just like locking in on everything you can control and not having it like rely on other people because that always made me like uncomfortable too. It's like, man, if I bring my all and like they don't bring theirs, like I don't get anything. It's like if,
Exactly.
on a team sport. So, with that being said, is that something that you feel like you had to go through baseball to realize it's like, oh, I like kind of doing my own thing more? Is that kind of something where it's like you just kind of felt a little bit separate from the group where it's like you just like weren't having like some of what the team was doing?
So in my like baseball career, I don't want to call it career, but like in my journey of playing baseball, growing up, like I was always like the better on the team, or the better player on the team. Like I was always faster, more athletic, just naturally. But then as I got to like varsity ball, excuse me, um, I noticed the skill gap closed pretty drastically, and I wasn't standing out anymore. I was just a regular ass starter at that point, and I never really fell in love with the grind of like just doing all these different dynamic movements, and then like just spending hours on refining a skill that might not even like come to fruition on the field. Like I was the outfielder, right? And half the game, like you're just praying for action out there. You're praying someone hits a ball out there to you. So I wasn't a pitcher or a catcher that had action every single time. And that was, I guess, kind of boring in a sense. Versus powerlifting, it's like there's action every time you step foot in that gym, right? Every practice for me feels like a game, right? And then when you're on the platform, it's like that's the World Series. That's you're giving your all right then and there. I don't care what happens. I can snap my fucking bicep off the bone. I don't care if I made it to the meet and it's on my third attempt and I grind and snap something. I'm cool with it. But yeah, the powerlifting just made things more enjoyable. Just during the practice stage, which is the regular gym day, and then obviously on the platform, it's just like everything is built up to that one point, and I don't think there's more of like an adrenaline rush than going out for a third attempt because you've been training for months on end just for 60 seconds of your life. And but baseball did teach me a lot of like just like learning how to fail. Like so I'm not gonna say it was like I regret playing ball. Like, I absolutely loved it. I made a bunch of friends. I It gave me a lot of experience with, like I said, failing. Which in baseball, if you get on base 3 out of 10 times, you're a pretty good ball player. You could fail 7 out of 10, and you're still considered good. So, I'm not saying you should be okay with failing lifts in the gym, but it definitely built a mental callus of that resilience that I was looking for. And if I failed to lift in training, I was I was okay with the consequence or okay with the outcome because it was my fault, my choice. I didn't get finessed by the pitcher throwing a curveball. Instead, I just picked the wrong weight, so it's a lot easier to control, right? Like I said. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully, that answered the question.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And in terms of like, you know, taking everything into your own hands and like being dialed in, like a bit neurotic, which is like, I don't know, like to a point, it's like, dialed in on externals. Like I wouldn't call it neurotic, I'd call it just driven. Like, tell us about like I've heard of people like call you the king of externals, like in terms of sleep and all that sort of stuff. Like break it down for us.
So, okay, it's never always been like that. There's been times which I like unlocked myself, and then there's times where I was more locked in.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like throughout my entire career of training, it's always gotten more and more dialed. So, for example, when I was like 17, 18, 19, I was working multiple manual labor jobs. And at one point, I had 3 jobs. So I was like, all right, a lot of physical labor, waking up early, not a lot of sleep, doing high school shit, and then I dialed that in slowly to when I went to college, and then I was able to just have one regular job and then do part-time coaching on the side or online coaching on the side for powerlifting. And then I grew that coaching business to the point where I was like, all right, I can quit this I guess day job that I had. I was a before and after school teacher for kids, right? So waking up at like 5 a.m. to get these kids in early, I'm like, all right, this is kind of hindering the sleep. And I'll come home, I'd go back to sleep and all that, but it's not the same, right? So having that full 9 hours of sleep is just it's like a steroid almost. You can't match it. Like it's so important, sleep quality. Like total sleep matters, but sleep quality itself is so important. So I've been trying to just maximize the variables throughout the years, and now I'm like, my wife hates it, but like now I'm like super locked into the point where like I keep the AC at like 65 at night just so I can get better REM sleep. I
Oh
do all I
man.
do all I do the sleep stack, the magnesium at night, the glycine, the L-theanine, and then some chamomile tea with like valerian inside of it. So like, I sleep max every night, blackout curtains, sound machine. Like I'm doing everything in my power to get good quality sleep.
I was gonna
And then of
say,
course,
yeah, because I got a question from one of my lifters in the chat was anything to improve your or anything you do specifically to promote better sleep quality, and it sounds like you kind of nailed everything right there, pretty much.
yeah, that's
So,
pretty much all. I mean, that plus like I'm kind of bad at it, like not being on my phone before sleep. But like sometimes I'm good with it, sometimes I'm bad with it. But half the time, like I just kind of wing it. It doesn't really affect too much of my sleep quality. I've noticed if I put like the red tone on, whatever it's called.
I was gonna say
That
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that tends to help. And then my TVs, I put the same, I guess, setting on. But yeah, I try to stay away from screens, which helps somewhat. But even if when I'm on my screen, I don't. It doesn't affect my quality of sleep too much. I've noticed. Like instead of staying up 10 minutes to fall asleep, it takes me 15. Right, so I'm like, it's a negligible difference for myself. But everything else is so locked in. It's like that's the bread and butter. Um, and then what else? I guess like step counts. That's a pretty good recovery
yeah.
module right there. Just making sure consistent steps are a thing, and not having one day at 5,000, not having one day at 15,000, but instead having every day around that 9 to 11,000 mark. My yearly average is like 10 point something, so I'm very consistent with that. And if I do miss
Oh,
one day, the next day I'll make up for it. So I'm very like anal about my steps for some reason. Like every week I have to see 10K no matter what. So if one day I'm in the car, traveling like all day and I only get 5,000, the next day I'll get 15, or I'll break it up and do like 12 and a half, 12 and a half the next 2 days. So step count's a big one. Mobility work's a big one. I like to run some mobility work at least twice a week. And then food source quality, which I've been really diligent about that currently.
yeah.
Like before Worlds and actually no, before Sheffield was pretty locked in. Before Worlds, I took a break from being locked in. I had a lot more protein whey, for example, to get my protein in. I had more artificial foods, just getting my calories in that way. But this time around, I'm like, all right, I'm taking a step back. I'm starting from the basics, and I'm just gonna, if it takes me an hour and a half more to cook my food every day, I'll do so. I don't care because I need to lock in more than ever at this moment. I am too far behind of where I want to be. And I think diet, of course, like macros are important, but food quality itself, just like the sleep. the total sleep matters, but sleep quality also matters. Total macros matter, but the food quality itself matters. So right now I'm having a lot of whole foods. I don't touch any protein whey right now at the moment. And most of my calories are just coming from like eggs, yogurt, milk, red meat, and then a bunch of fruit. I fruit max a ton, like 400 to 450 carbs. Half of that is straight fruit. A lot of fructose. Yeah, and then my fiber is also high as a result of that. I try to get some good veggies in there. I'm not a big veggie fan, but I still find a way to put it in there with my spinach and mushrooms and peas and stuff. But yeah, just a lot of whole foods, a lot of sleep, a lot of mobility, a lot of steps, a lot of good sleep, and just consistency every single day as much as I can.
That's
Yeah,
amazing,
yeah.
man.
I'll let Cole ask one in a sec, but yeah, mobility is something I've kind of changed my mind on. Where it's like I used to be like, oh, just get under the bar and start warming up and stuff like that, or 5, 10 minutes on treadmill to start. And it's like that works for a lot of people, but like sometimes you just have people where it's like if they like do a circuit or something, like they're objectively like better off. Would you say?
Oh, for sure. Like for example, my left hip is like stuck in ER. I don't know why. It's just a huge compensation effect, I believe. And I've been doing as a recent like a lot of like super deep front foot elevated split squats and just like angling my torso into the left to get that IR activated on my left side. And I've noticed my squats feel so much better as a result. And it's just like a good priming effect. And then I do a bunch of other things like belt squat for my knees and stuff. So I'm not just running. There's no way I can go into the bar and hit depth. That's not happening. I'm not, my body would not let me squat to depth without doing some sort of mobility and pre-activation work. There's just no way.
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. So you just kind of like have it where it's like a like 2 sets of 10 warm up deep stretch or something, not like super intense like before your comp lift, obviously, or is it kind of like decently intense?
Oh no, it's super sub max. Like there's not even an RPE scale to what I do. It's just going through the motions, get some good blood flow. Actually, there is one movement I started doing because I've been in contact with John Song as a recent. And he gave me some rehab work to do. It's some like deep back, like thoracic breathing expansion work, and that's pretty intense. Like my lats do get sore from just breathing into it. It's crazy. So I've been doing that as a recent, and that's like RP10. But everything else is like hip 90/90s, Cossack squats, the front foot elevated BSS, and then like a plate on a belt squat, and that's pretty much all I do.
Good stuff, good stuff. Cole, I'll let
Fantastic.
you shoot one, or
Yeah,
go ahead,
you're
Cole.
good, bro. Yeah, so you mentioned like the steps, the food quality, the sleep, all that stuff. So like since like Worlds and Sheffy and all that, like they're absolute ringer of like the like 5 week preps and all that stuff. Like what have you learned to like just like I'm gonna switch this up to like I'm gonna switch this external up to make sure that something never happens again, or just make sure that your ceiling gets absolutely like skyrocketed through.
So for the external, I don't think from what I'm doing now, I don't think I can change pretty much anything. Everything would
Yeah.
have to be, well, are we consider the programming side external or is that like internal? I don't know.
Just all of it. Yeah. Like what have you changed since Worlds to like to just rewrite history? You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah. So, like I said before Worlds, I was having more like just like not good quality food, but that's something I'm changing now and something I plan to just stick to for the foreseeable future. Like I was on that crazy grind, like going into Sheffield, and then when shit hit the fan, I'm like, fuck this. This shit don't work. And then that's why I kind of steered away a little bit. But yeah, I'm going back to that obviously, and then within programming, I think it's simply veering away from high intensity lifting or high intensity lifting that's often or that's repetitive, right? So like for example, I can do a lot of effort. Effort isn't the issue. I can go RP9. That is okay. By intensity, I'm talking about absolute load. So like objective intensity or absolute intensity. So just doing like singles or doubles consistently, that's what's been degrading my technique to the point where I lose like quality or good movement quality over time as a result of this, right? Like for example, if you're running singles over and over, high intensity singles because you're continuously peaking, or doubles because you're continuously peaking, and you fall into that same bad habit, which you're gonna have some sort of tech breakdown at a max effort lift. Like there's something's gonna be there, right? But having that tech breakdown over and over and over, and then that loop just feeds into itself because if you go high effort, that week one you come onto is you're probably cooked now, and you're probably gonna enter that movement pattern slightly. Nothing crazy. It still looks good, looks like your normal tech, but then it slowly feeds into the week two, week three, and the week four. and you just came off a super big week prior or week 4 prior to that. So that's just going to feed itself into that bad movement quality. And that's what happened to me. I did 6 competitions in 14 months, and I did 3 competitions in 4.5 months. So very intense. And now I know that if I were to compete that frequently again, I should step off the gas. I'm okay with my top end being nerfed a bit. As long as I'm moving good and moving healthy, that's all that matters. And I need to pick and choose meets in which I can perform to my best ability rather than trying to go all out, balls to the wall on every single meet. I did that last year. I did it at advances. I shouldn't have done it then. But the only reason I did peak, like the whole thought of advances was like, all right, I'm gonna go in there, grab a bag, and then like actually peak for Sheffield, right? And have Sheffield be my huge peak, which it kind of was. I did peak better for Sheffield than I did for advances. But when I knew Perk was doing advances and I knew he wasn't going to go all out, I'm like, this is my opportunity right now to beat him. So I'm going to step on the gas again right after Worlds. And I mean, I totaled 4 kilos more than my all time bet today, 904.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
on that day, I wasn't stronger than I was at Nationals. Nationals at 900 was stronger than the 904 day, just based off the bar speed you can see and stuff. And the prep was obviously a lot better as well going into Nats. So just things like that, just not stepping on the gas so frequently, taking a step back, restore good movement quality, stay healthy, and be okay with not performing to my best ability when the competition itself isn't that important. Advances, for
Yeah.
example, like I said.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully that's
Exactly.
all
Yeah.
good.
No. No. That
Yeah.
checks out
Yeah.
because I feel like there's such a short like time in between all those like the important ones, right? Not the advances. I mean, the advances is still important, but like the worlds, the Sheffy, and the Nats, it's just like that's if you have to do Nats, it's just so like making those adaptations and making those changes to actually be like, okay, now I can actually just prioritize this one, not prioritize this one as much,
Yeah.
make sure I'm
That
staying
that
healthy.
yeah, Nats was great. Nats cooked me. Nats was
Yeah,
like
bro.
I was hanging on the thread going into that Nats, and then I'm like, because I thought Taylor was doing it, and I was like, all right, I gotta show up. So I had 4 weeks to put something together, show up to Nats, and that was probably the worst I've ever felt while competing. I mean, until this past Worlds, but that was pretty bad. And then at that point, I'm like, well, I got 3 blocks to try to whip something up, and every block during that Worlds prep, something was injured and something new got injured. And then when my pec snapped 3 days out, I'm like, you know what? That was the final straw. That was the straw that broke the camel's back right there. And I'm like, that my bench was the saving grace, and I lost that with the pec snap 3 days out. I'm like, all right, it is what it
Man.
is.
Yeah, so rough, bro.
Yeah, it is what it is, man.
Um,
We've come back healthier.
Yeah, for real.
I did get a question that kind of feeds into this one nicely, or what are some key signs that you look for in yourself, let's say, and then for one of your lifters, let's say, for being primed for like a meet in terms of like, I mean, obviously, like you're going by a lot by feel or by bar speed or just like the mental, like what all goes into that, would you say?
Yeah, so when prepping for a meet, I like to take the biggest lifts like around 2 blocks out. So whether that may be a double or a triple or some max single, anything that's like specific to that point, I can kind of tell where your top end's going to be. And then through those next 4 weeks leading to the meet, which I usually just train into the meet, or I have my athletes train into the meet as well. And I may throw in a taper if needed, like a 8 day taper or accessory taper, something, whatever the case is, whatever if they need it, right? But if they're getting stronger week to week, no taper needed, obviously. But yeah, I just kind of compare that last peaking block from the block previously when they hit their biggest loads, and I just pace it accordingly, and I try to compare contrast each week one, each week two, each week three. If things are going to pace, it's pretty easy to determine what number to put on the platform, right? And to preface this, I try to at least keep 2 of the main movements on the meet day or around that meet day. So, for example, if Saturday is their competition day, a squat and a bench will be on that Saturday along with it, right? Generally, I like the squat and the bench because those are more finicky of the list, especially the bench press. That requires the most priming and the most exposure, most frequency. So I like the bench press to be on meet day itself. Squat as well, especially if they're high leverage for it. And then deadlift, that's the lift I can like veer away from and have that be like an actual taper effect. Still not going RP9 on that final block still, but then go like RP8. If it's overshot 8.5, that's okay. And then it's easy to taper and line that up to meet day. So yeah, just comparing the data for the blocks previously and then lining up through the comp lifts to meet day itself.
Solid, solid. Yeah, yeah, I'd say, Yeah, I like that. You said 2 blocks out you do the final, or the block before the meet on that week 4 that you peak to the heaviest, and then like obviously the meet day block you peak heavier than that, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So like 2 blocks out, and then the 1 block out is the block into the meet. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sounds good. Um, yeah, what okay, this is kind of a interesting question. What's your take on higher frequency squatting? Like they said 3 times a week or higher. I mean, I think 3 times is kind of moderate, but I guess like where do you draw the line and like how would you say or I mean maybe like a word of caution or what your thoughts are on like some of the super high frequencies and maybe like in determining like how you go about thinking, okay, this person might benefit from it versus like, oh, stay away from it at all costs.
Yeah. So high frequency, I'm thinking like 4 or 5 or 6 times a week.
Right.
Three
That's
is
what,
pretty
yeah.
normal. But generally speaking, if you're not high leverage for squat, you're not doing high frequency because there's going to be some sort of limiting factor, and it's most likely your lower back. Because that means you have the long femurs, the short torso. You're gonna be getting pitched forward pretty damn hard. But if you need, let's say you're a disadvantaged squatter, right? So if you're high leverage, you can just add another squat day. That's cool and all. And if you feel detrained on some days, add the tertiary in there. If you feel like you're that detrained, add the quaternary. But for let's say the disadvantaged squatter and you need more leg stimuli, it's pretty easy. Just throw in some leg accessory compound, like a belt squat, in my opinion. No axial loading. You still get a very similar squat pattern as your palm squat. You can throw that as your or throw that in as your tertiary squat. And that's what I'm currently doing right now to bridge my primary to secondary gap. I'm doing a pretty sub max belt squat as a bridge day, and I haven't done it yet. This will be the first week of doing it, so I'll see how that works. But yeah, because Evan Hawk, he's my new coach at the moment, so he's like, let's try to bridge the gap, see what happens. There's no if there's a negative effect, we just simply pull it out. But yeah, like I said, if you're high leverage, you're pretty much good to go. Just to add another squat day, and then if you were to add a higher frequency, you can't just slap on total volume, total intensity. You have to kind of bridge the gap by removing some of the other volume sets from the previous days. So if you have let's say you have 5 sets and 5 sets, secondary, primary, easy 10 total sets. If you want to add that tertiary, you can go up to 11 total sets. Just remove 1 and 2 or 2 and 2 from the other previous days to help bridge that gap and have a slight boost in total weekly volume and total weekly tonnage, but not a crazy boost. You're not adding another 4 sets to that 10 already. Instead, you're adding just one and just accumulating all the sets differently by doing three total days. And that same rule would apply for the fourth or fifth day if you were to do that. But I would always veer towards the least invasive protocol first, which would be an accessory. And then from there, if you need the exposure on your back, that's when you add that third day. If you need more exposure, add the accessory. If you need more exposure on your back, add the fourth day, and so on.
Yeah, I like that. For the belt squat, I was curious, like, do you ever find like the position of the belt itself kind of matters in terms of like low back fatigue? Because some of them like the bells of steel one I'm thinking of where it kind of like it's kind of front loaded and if you kind of set it like at a certain angle, like it's almost like pulling you into extension, I feel like, but maybe that's like I don't know if that really would have like an effect or if it's mainly just the like the compressive over the top of the spine that'd be the main issue, but or what
It
your
depends on
thoughts
the
are
belt
there.
squat too. The Rhino that I use is Um, I just set it as low as I can. I put it where it's comfortable. And if sometimes there's spots on that belt squat that it's digging into your back, and I just try to find the most comfortable spot, and then I try not to worry too much about like getting pulled or pushed into flexion or extension, because that's pretty easy to combat by just like holding the handles a little bit different or depressing the lats a little better.
Yeah.
But when you want to emphasize the belt squat, it's pretty easy. Just like foot forward, foot back, depending on if you want more quads or more glutes, and that's what I try to focus on. And I'm very, posterior dominant when I squat. So I try to get a little bit more quad emphasis. And I do the inverse for my athletes that are very quad dominant when they squat. And let's say if they need more quad emphasis, then by all means, we can just make it more quad emphasized. But it all depends what the lifter needs and what they're missing out on.
Yeah, yeah. For like
Gotcha.
volume, do you say too like maybe depending on like if the lifter is newer or advanced, maybe you do 3, 4 sets of an accessory like a belt squat versus 1, 2 sets, depending on where they are at in their training age?
Yeah, definitely. You always want to like dose as minimal as possible. Like whatever elicits progression, keep it there until you see the progression flatline, and then just add a little bit more. Like I hate when beginners run some crazy volume scheme and then like they're like, where do I go from here? I'm like, well, why'd you do that in the first place, bro? Like, don't throw the kitchen sink in and or like it's like trying to throw everything at the wall and seeing what sticks at that point. Just like, no, you want to be as precise and as minimalistic as possible at first. Get that progress, milk it out, and just slowly dose from there. So yeah, beginners definitely should do less. Intermediates and advanced do more.
Okay.
Facts.
That's all I got. Cole, you wanna?
Yeah. I was gonna just same like idea with the bell squat and stuff. Like, how important are accessories in your training just as a whole? Like, which side of the spectrum like do you fall in terms of like minimalist, maximalist, like moderate? Like, where are we at?
So the importance or the amount of accessories we're talking about?
Like, kind of just like the amount, yeah. Because there's some that do like none. There's some that do like too much. Yeah.
So it depends on like I guess the season. I hate using the word like off season or in season, but it holds some truth. So like right now, for example, I am giga injured, giga cooked. So I can't really push the barbell movements too much, but like SPD movements. So I am accessory maxing at the moment. I have 2 times a week belt squat. I have like a Smith machine goblet squat that I'm doing, a lot of BSS twice a week, hamstring curls, all that stuff, just so I don't like detrain like to the max. And actually, I can use this time away from the barbell and get something out of it, get some hypertrophy gains, right? So it all depends on like the lifter, first of all, and like their leverage. And then obviously the season which they're in. And then if they're a noob or more advanced. But the amount of accessories I do in a week is kind of absurd. Actually, let me see, because I think it's like this is the most accessories I've ever done. It's like at least what is it, 4 a day? Yeah, I have 4 accessories a day, and then I have an accessory only day. So I train 6 days a week
Oh,
right now.
damn. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's
Is the
27,
accessory?
27.
Yeah. So is the accessory only day like upper or lower? Like, which one is it?
It's a little bit of both. It's we got some the elevated goblet squat on the Smith, pull-ups, pull downs, BSS, cable curls, pull-ups. Oh, I said pull-ups already. CD hamstring curl and pullovers. So yeah,
That's
that's
sick,
a little
bro. Yeah. I also feel like
posterior and the quad.
that just gives you a mental break from just being giga injured too. It's like I could just push something else now. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
kind of
have different
chill.
Yeah,
goals
I
as
feel like
well.
Yeah.
I feel like yeah, having like that sort of not side quest, but something where it's like, okay, I can still like exert force versus like I can never like push this because like this is screwed up, you know. So
That's what I'm doing on my SPD movements as well. Like having different side quests and trying to PR something I've never done. So like right now,
yeah.
like what I said previously, effort isn't the issue. It's the load at the moment. So I'm still gonna go RP like 8 to 9 on my week 4 on my squat and and bench, but it's so foreign. It's like it's gonna be an automatic PR. I'm doing a tempo set of 4, for example, on my primary squat top set. So like I'm gonna PR that. No matter what I do on week 4. I've never done a tempo set of 4 for a top set, so that's an automatic PR. On deadlift, I'm doing like a pause set of 6, so it's like automatic PR. So those are my side quests at the moment. I still get to exert some high effort, but the load is so sub max where I can actually go through that high quality movement pattern and not revert back to those bad habits. And then hopefully 2 blocks of that, maybe not even. I'm doing like 6 weeks of it. Hopefully that will restore the movement quality, or then I can go back to my normal training. And when I do have to go back to normal training, I'll most likely pull back a little bit of my accessory volume. But accessories are like a huge role in programming. Like you can't have a complete program without accessories. It's impossible.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, and like it depends too on like like the actual like nature of the accessory. I feel like too, because some of them are like maybe meant to be push harder, like a hack squat or something, versus like incline with like the goblet and stuff, and like different aspects of movement quality. Would you say it like depends on like if you're locked into a machine hardcore versus have a little bit more flexibility in there? Would you say?
Oh yeah, there's some movement patterns that are just there for some like rehab measures, you know? Like I'm
Right,
not gonna
right.
push my front foot elevated BSS RPM million. I'm simply using it to access a little bit more IR and
Yeah.
some good quality knee health, right? Same with my Smith machine goblet squat. I'm not going RPM million on that because my knees will explode. And I already have some knee issues from previous peaking and that on-solid competition I did. So a lot of things are implemented there to stay healthy, or first of all, regain the health and then stay healthy afterwards. And then some are there to just go all out RP10, right? Like I'm going all out on my bicep curl. That's not going to negatively impact my performance. Same with like lateral raises or rear delts or hamstrings, stuff like that. Like I go all out on majority of my accessories, but then I have a couple sprinkled in there that are there for just precautionary measure.
Yeah, like the
Do
isolated
you
ones are like RAR0, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. There's
Yeah,
no RP for that. That shit don't exist.
yeah, for real, bro.
how much do you drop it for like meet week or let's say going into a meet? Like are you still hitting them or are you or like dropping sets or like taking off a couple point or a few points or
Yeah, so for meet week, generally I'll keep in like a tricep push down for the upper, just so I don't lose like elbow extension priming. I'm not sure if that's a big deal. I'm just neurotic and I want to keep it in, so that's what I do. And then I may do like one or two sets of dumbbell press. I'll drop a set or two from that. Some I'll do two pieces of back work, so like a vertical and a horizontal row, and then I'll definitely keep the belt squatting because that does add total glute tonnage to my squat volume. So that stays in there, but the intensity of it may go down. So I'll drop intensity by like, or relative intensity, so the RP by like, 3 to maybe 4. And then total volume by set count, I'll drop to like, 1 to 2 sets, depending on the movement. And then I just drop a couple accessories altogether. So instead of doing like two triceps, I'll do one. Instead of doing three chest accessories, I'll do two and stuff like that.
solid? All right. I mean, I think that's all I have for you, Cole.
Yeah, bro. Like, I'm just wondering from a mental perspective, like, what keeps you going? Like, obviously, there's a end goal, or like you want to get to the top or whatever, but or you're already at the top, but you know what I mean. Like, what keeps you moving forward when things go wrong? Where does your drive come from? All that stuff.
Oof, my drive.
Yeah.
It's a combination of things. So first up, probably my faith comes first in that. And like I feel like I have a God-given talent. So it's almost disrespectful to not try to achieve my highest genetic, limit. I'm not just disrespecting myself, but I'm just disrespecting the Lord. So it's like I gotta give it my all. I gotta unleash whatever He has given me. So that's like step one. And then this is like, kind of like my livelihood in a sense. Obviously, like coaching is where I make most of my money, but uh like without lifting, coaching would be a lot harder in the sense of getting publicity or attraction to my page, and then obviously into my services. So I think, not that I think, I know that I need to be all my A game to achieve, that financial freedom, or to achieve what I want for my future to be. Like I want to have a family soon, and I can't do that if I'm broke, to be honest. You know what I mean? I need an income to support a child, and I want to have a house. And I want to have my kids, and those are all pretty, hard external driving factors that motivate me. But internally, like I said, I have that intrinsic drive to unleash my best self and see where, the human bodies, or see what the human body's capable of. And I don't think I'm the most genetically gifted lifter. I wouldn't say that at all. There's some lifters that do nothing that I do in terms of recovering, and they're better than me. So it's like it feels like I gotta do everything in my power to be at the top and stay at the top. And I'm okay with that because I'd rather it be hard and earned than just like given, in a sense. So that's what that's almost like an infinite loop itself. It's like I'm doing this much effort for like 2.5 kilos on my bench, for example. And like that's what motivates me. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, fuck this! It doesn't work, right?" And I've had that mindset previously, like on occasion, like at Sheffield. It's like I gave it my all, and I'm like, you know what? Nothing worked. But that was just a little gloomy time, and I was like, I was a little depressed, whatever. But like, I got out of that real quick because I knew where I wanted to be, and that intrinsic motivation just carries me through. So I'm not sure if I was born with it or not. That definitely, obviously, genetics play a role into that as well, like how your mental is gonna come to fruition. Like growing up, I always wanted to be the best on my team, and I always wanted to be the strongest and the fastest. So that does play a role. But as I grew older and grew in faith, I'm like, all right, I have something here. I want to capitalize on it, and I want to make it a career. And if I want to go wherever I want to be in life, I have to continuously be locked in. And being locked in it's a privilege, to be honest. Like I'd rather be doing this than locking in to a 9 to 5 and waking up buttfuck early to train and going home exhausted and having to cook my meals after. Like, nah, like this is easy. Like if you're, especially if you're in high school or college and you're listening to this, like you got no excuses, bro. Like if you have a job that's different, like if you have a 9 to 5, okay, I understand, and you're in college, then that you're tagging on a lot of responsibility. But if you have nothing to do, there's no excuse, bro. I have some athletes out there that piss me off, bro. Like I'm telling you, they're just some college students, and they're over here talking about partying. Why they have to do this on their week 4 and not sleep. And I'm like, all right,
Oh
bro. Like
man.
I get to
that's
do
your
this on my
progression at
week
hand.
4. I get to do
Tell me
this on
about
my
it,
week
bro.
4.
Exactly.
Oh
They're like,
my
it's an extra variation, the drunk week 4 or something. I don't know, but
Dude, yeah.
um,
My
Where
lifters
can
do it
where
all the
can
time, bro.
where can people find you, man? You do coaching yourself?
yeah, I do. So in my bio, well, in the Borenstein bio on Instagram, you can see my coaching page, P4P_coaching, or just do P4Pcoach.com. I have an entire website. You can see my services. And yeah, I'm almost capped out. Like I really don't or make my coaching public because when I do, there's too many inquiries. So I like to just like not announce it and just like let people come to me naturally. But if you want to fill it out, let me know. I'm very selective as well. So if you have an Instagram page and you're very public with your lifting, that helps because I can just see what type of lifter you are and all that. And but yeah, I always respond to everyone. So if you want to fill it out and take a shot, then that'd be great.
All right. Good stuff, man. Thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate you. This is Beyond the Total episode 3. Peace out.
Appreciate the invite.